Hello, my name is Quang Pham, and today I will be talking about ethanol. For a background on ethanol has been used to power internal combustion engines since 1826, and for much of the 19th century it was used as lighting fuel for lamps. So where does the modern-day ethanol industry come from? Well, in the 1970s, there was the OPEC oil embargo aimed at the United States and its Western allies, which caused the oil crisis, which led to a demand for alternatives to gasoline. Ethanol is one of the major types of biofuels and is today one of the most common types of biofuels. As a fuel, ethanol is primarily blended with gasoline to increase octane, which is to improve engine performance and to cut down on emissions. Generally, at least in the US, ethanol is produced using starch-based crops, usually corn. However, it's possible to produce ethanol using other materials. For example, you can use sugar-based crops like sugarcane, or you can use stuff like cellulosic feedstocks, which consists of things like wood, grass, and waste material from agriculture. The most common way of producing ethanol in the US is a process called dry milling, and dry milling involves grinding the biomass into flour, which is then mixed with water and microorganisms like bacteria and yeast, and this is allowed to ferment and then distill to produce ethanol. As previously mentioned, ethanol is one of the most common types of biofuels in the world, and with the exception of the past few years, global production of ethanol has been growing. And ethanol is also very easily accessible to most people because, for example, in the United States, the most common variety of gasoline, which is called E10 type fuel, consists of 10% ethanol and 90% gasoline. As for further research that's been going on is mostly to try to reduce carbon emissions from ethanol and for making use of other forms of biomasses to produce ethanol. Corn-based ethanol has been shown to decrease the carbon footprint, and according to one study, carbon emissions from corn-based ethanol fell 20% between 2005 and 2019 as a result of improved cultivation techniques and production processes. However, there has been an ongoing concern less to do with ethanol itself and more with the means of production, because production plants will almost always produce some level of waste, and also increased demand for ethanol will increase the demand for crops, which will in turn increase the demand for land, which will almost certainly result in stuff like deforestation. In 2021, there were more than 73,000 jobs across the United States that were directly linked to the production of ethanol, and a lot of these jobs are located in rural areas. Ethanol production contributed $52.1 billion to the GDP and accounts for $28.7 billion in household income in the same year. And also, in addition to all that, ethanol production also provides a major and lucrative market for corn in the United States. So the ethanol industry has several different groups that advocate for the use of ethanol and the growth of the industry. So for example, you got the Renewable Fuels Association, or the RFA, and the American Coalition for Ethanol, or ACE. Both of these organizations focus primarily on transmitting information about the industry through social media and also through the internet in general. And I found that ACE in particular are more focused on trying to transmit that information to regular people. Like many other industries, the ethanol industry saw a bit of a slump in production output in the past few years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Although production levels of ethanol has been recovering, it has not quite matched pre-pandemic levels. Although in the next decade or so, it is expected that demand and production of ethanol would eventually surpass pre-pandemic levels, the long-term future of ethanol is uncertain. The reason why the future of the ethanol industry is uncertain is because of different governments pushing for policies that call for the electrification of transportation and of personal vehicles. The reason why these policies are bad for the ethanol industry is simple. It's because when you electrify vehicles, you remove their need for fuel. And the fuel industry is a major market for the ethanol industry. Therefore, with these policies, it would remove a major market for ethanol. For an ideal plan where there is no concern for funding, I would first reactivate or reopen plants that were shut down during the global pandemic. Next, to increase production capacity, I would invest into research to find new ways to increase crop yields and new and more efficient means of production. Next, I would also try to invest into research to find newer crops that could be used for ethanol production. And in addition to all that, try to invest into new ways ethanol could be used in the future. Thank you for watching my video.